Hello students, the last topic that we have discussed was on positioning and we have discussed about the strategies of positioning also. Today's topic is continuation of positioning only and the next four topics are based on that only. The first one is points of difference, the second one is point of parity, then we're going to discuss about perceptual mapping and then about repositioning. So first we're going to have discussed about point of difference. The point of difference are attributes, public benefits that consumers strongly associated with a brand, public product, positively evaluated and believe that they could not find to the same extent with the competitive brand, public product. So, point of difference as per this particular sentence is quite clear that it's a kind of attributes and benefits that normally consumers are associating with that particular product, and that too it is positively evaluated, right? It means that whatever the attributes and benefits and characteristics consumers are associating with that brand and product, it's basically judged by them many times. They are evaluated it, and after that evaluation means after continuation of use of that product, that particular can able to understand that this particular product have certain characteristics. So when they have that kind of view about certain product and brand that is not present in another kind of brand or product, then it is called a point of difference. The particular feature and particular characteristics, attributes that make that product different from others, right? Then point of difference are usually in line with the unique selling proposition and are critical in defining the competitive advantage of your products. Point of difference in the second line, the point of difference is what? It's a kind of unique selling proposition. Normally we call it a USP also. USP means what is the unique thing in your particular product and brand that makes you different from others, right? That is the point of difference. And that USP has gave you a kind of competitive advantage also over other products. And that is the reason from this point of view, point of difference, the customers can prefer a particular brand. Then, for example, there is a one food chain Subway. They have basically what they have advertised, what they have conveyed the message to customers or consumers that whatever the food products they have and whatever the meals they are serving in the restaurants is basically have less fat as compared to others, because its sandwiches have fewer grams of fat, right? So that is the basically a USP for it as compared to McDonald's and compared to KFC items. This particular Subway food chain has some unique features. So here the point of difference is quite clear. It's a points, it's in features that makes an product different from others, or we will consider that features and attributes as a USP also, that is unique selling proposition, right? Certain points are here that makes a product different from others. What are that? That product design is different from others, that normally the customers can perceive and can have able to differentiate it from the competitive products. Then quality that product is serving to the customers, then additional services, then what kind of image, then people staff, those are basically serving that particular product or services. Price also one of the unique feature that makes the products more competitive in the market. So they all have the different kinds of sources of difference that creates a point of difference. Now next one is points of parity. It's an association that are not necessarily unique to the brand, but may be shared with other brands. So point of parity is what? There are certain characteristics in a product that are not unique from other competitive products, but still it has their own utility, right? Second point is more clear about it. People while point of parities may usually not be the reason to choose a brand, their absence can certainly be a reason to drop a brand. It means that that particular characteristic, attribute, and feature of that particular product or brand is not different from others. But still, if it is not there, then it's the reason for the customers to drop that particular brand. Right? For example, if we have two bikes of two different manufacturers, that Honda have one CD100, Hero Motors have a Splendor. Both the bikes have different from each other, but both the bike have a one particular similar characteristics of mileage. If one of them is not providing that particular mileage to the customer, then definitely product is not going to sell, because that is the feature that is definitely wanted by the customers. So in this also there are two types of parities. One is competitive point of parity and another one is category point of parity. First we're going to understand about category point of parity, under which means that the brand offers necessary but not necessarily sufficient category features. The same thing. What the feature, maybe it is not necessary, but necessarily it should be there in that particular product. For example, different banks have different unique features and services that make them different from others. That is unique features they have. That is the can say USP for them. But certain features are there that necessarily be required by the bank that is already serving by the other banks also, like the ATM services. If I'm going to have choose one bank that is have a better services than others, right? But still, if that bank have not much ATM services, then I'm not going to choose that bank, because ATM is basically a necessary service that belongs to each and every brand of that particular industry, right? That is the category point of parity. Competitive point of parity is designed to negate a competitor's point of difference. Now here, competitive point of parity is something different. What is the different thing is here? In this point, competitive point of parity, competitor is trying to negate another's brand point of difference. So whatever the point of difference they are trying to make it generalize, nullify by highlighting the same point of difference, right? For example, here Lifebuoy soap will establish competitive point of parity with Dettol soap by claiming that it has a germ killing qualities and vice versa. So Lifebuoy soap what they're highlighting? They're highlighting that their soap is killing the germs, that quality they have. But what happens? Dettol's point of difference is that only. Dettol normally people have preferred because it kills the germs. If a one brand also highlighting the same point, it means that they are trying to negate or nullifying the competitor's point of difference. Right? So these are the two types. Now, the next point is perceptual mapping. Perceptual mapping is basically highlighting the products particular level in which category they are basically falling. They are basically defined a particular products category and particular the range in which they are basically have their presence, right? Perceptual mapping, like this, you have different kinds of products on your screen. They have their unique particular categories, displaying or graphing in two or more dimensions, right? The location of product, brand, or group of products in customer's mind. So what exactly that product is in the mind of the customer, that is showing in that particular categories, right? Like here on your screen, the Margo is there, that is basically related to the product, that is natural product, and Lifebuoy also have different qualities. So where they have basically situated in the mind of the customer, that brand or products group is basically showing in the form of graph is perceptual mapping. Margo, for example, Margo occupies the herbal slot. It means that people have think about this brand is a herbal brand, and Lifebuoy occupies the hygiene slot, which means that both have soaps, but both have occupying a different slots in the mind of the customer, right? Then here perceptual mapping of digestive brands. Now you see here two characteristics are there, and their quality is what kind of impact they are showing, and their qualities, like what is medicinal, another one is natural, and one is low efficacy, means when not much digestive problem is there for a normal digestion, and then a high efficacy when the person have a more problem related to digestion, then what kind of medication they should take. So one is medicinal property, and one is same property with natural background. So here you see Jalusil and Digene, they are medicinal and high efficacy. It means that whenever the person have more digestive problem, then they will take Jalusil and Digene. Here, also have medicinal property, but for a low efficacy, when they have not much problem with their particular, let's say, brand or product, then there's a is here. Then in the natural side, there are two brands are there. One is low efficacy. In low efficacy, one is Podinhara and Hajmola. When both are natural background, which means that Ayurvedic products are there. So you'll see here two arrows are there. Is basically for what purpose? Is basically that in the mind of the customer they have medicinal property with low efficacy, but now trying to move their place in the mind of the customer from medicinal low efficacy to medicinal high efficacy. When the person have more problem related to digestion, then they are trying to propagate themselves in that particular area. And that's why nowadays, whenever you're going to have seen Eno's advertisement, that you'll see that the person have a major problem for the digestion, then they will going to take this and they will get instant relief, right? And here for the Podinhara also, from low efficacy, they are trying to shift to the high efficacy. That is, we're going to discuss that in this slide only. That is repositioning, right? Hajmola is in that purpose only, low efficacy and natural. Normally, after our particular dinner or lunch, we're going to take this for the normal digestion purpose, right? So this is all about perceptual mapping. Somewhat when you are reintroducing your product, or without it, you are trying to change the positioning of that particular product from the mind in the mind of the customer by repositioning that brand. There's not much change and not much change, both is there, right? So we're going to discuss that. Repositioning company modifies what is already present. Whatever the particular product is there, they modify it and then again they relaunch it and trying to change the positioning of that particular product. That is repositioning. The market demand changes rapidly, and so repositioning is important. For example, from If a particular person or a company has introduced certain products and if they are doing very well for a certain period of time, but with the change of particular economic condition and preferences of the customer, if that product is not doing well, then the company can modify it and relaunch it, right, and change that position in the mind of the customer. For example, you all have know about Baleno car of Maruti Suzuki. Suzuki have relaunched this product or a car later 2, 3, 4, 5 years back, and now that product is doing very well. Before that, Baleno was there in the market, but at that time, that car have not a hatchback. First time when Baleno launched, at that time that car was a sedan. Baleno when first time launched, it was not a high hatchback car, it was a sedan car. It's like a car having a more boot space on the back side, right? But when, and that was at around 10 lakhs, 11 lakhs, like this. And at that time, that car was not did much well. And when the company have, due to the span of time, when company have found that in that particular range of car, Maruti have itself many brands, right? Like Swift Desire was there, and that car is already doing very well in that section, but still they have launched that Baleno with that car. So that much of competition with their own brand is there. So they have relaunched that car in the hatchback section, and they have positioned that car in the cost around 7 to 8 lakhs starting initial pricing, right? So what happened now that car is doing very well. So that is the reason why the company have sometimes repositioning their product into the market. Then the main aim of this is moving something from somewhere towards a greater position with the market. Just like Baleno was somewhere in the market, no one knows much about that particular car, but later when they have repositioned it, then it will go into a greater position in the market, right? Help in saving the feeling brand, same thing. Baleno earlier when they have launched that car initially, you just search it on the net. Baleno initially when it was launched by Suzuki Motors, then it was not a successful car. Then later when they have launched it, that failed brand become a successful brand. Done when the market is volatile. Now what happened normally, why companies are trying to reposition their products when the market is much volatile. Volatile means it's much changing, sometimes going up, then downs, up and downs, right? Then brand repositioning or brand positioning when absolute, it means then when it's old, occurs a need of reposition it. When brand positioning when absolute means when it is getting very old or outdated, occurs a need to reposition it. Like Hyundai's car 10 years back, positioning, repositioning, and depositioning. Three concepts on your screen. Positioning is the process by which marketers try to create an image or identity in the minds of their target market for its product, brand, and organization, right? That is create an image. Then repositioning involves changing the identity of a product relative to the identity of competing products, right? Again, they have trying to reposition that product and trying to change the image of that product into the mind of the customer as compared to the competitors, right? Then depositioning. Depositioning involves an attempting to change the identity of competing products related to the identity of your own product. Sometimes what happens, just like I told the example of Suzuki. Sometimes what happen, our own brand is came under that competition area. Same companies, two brands sometimes competing with each other in the sale. So what happened? Both are basically eating the share of each other. So in that case, company has trying to depositioning that products, right? Then brand repositioning done proactively, it is an expensive investment, yes, no doubt in that, because you have to change that product again, relaunch it again, trying to expend much amount on the advertising and other promotional activities. Educating the consumers for the new position, that is also the concern. Then certain reasons for repositioning, why the companies are normally repositioning the products. First, reasons for repositioning can be the environmental driven, like some problem with the product that create a hazard for the environment. Then consumer driven, it means they are not much doing on the level of satisfying the needs of the consumers. Competitor driven, something sometimes by seeing the competitors products, company like to change that, reposition that product. Internally driven also, sometimes companies feel that, we want to change this product and we want to create some more features in that product, and we want to relaunch and reposition that product. That internal driven also. Then increase relevance to consumers, like Maruti Omni. Earlier, that particular brand from van to spacious car. Earlier, it was uh, concentrated like or positioned like it's a van. Then it is positioned like it's a spacious car. Then Bonvita from milk additive. Sometimes earlier when it was there in the market, people trying to use it like an additive in the milk just to change the flavor. Later, it has become a nutritional drink. Then search for viable position. So next topic you want to have on uh, marketing channels.